Johnny's really white.
Johnny is what you were white.
I'm white on multiple levels.
It's a good thing you got little pink dots on there to kind of break up the whiteness.
That's true.
It's true.
Yeah.
Well, great to have you guys here. Welcome to Back to Table Talk. We're episode 5.
High five.
Yeah, bring
5.
Oh!
Got it?
That was the best 5 ever.
See
That
what I
was
did
the
there?
5 ever.
I didn't have to try, and I got
No,
that one.
all right, okay.
So Table Talk, episode 5, and we're doing our best to kind of talk about things that have either got left on the chopping block or things that we've been talking about throughout our church over the month of July, and we've been talking about joy. So today we're going to take some time and unpack that, which is a funny one because you think like the fact that we have to talk about joy seems really crazy, but we do because I think people often either forget where to find it or they don't know how, and we all kind of fall into one of those camps often.
And most people are not joyful. Like that's one thing I noticed this whole month because I'm thinking about it. How little joy a lot of people have. In a country where we have so much,
True.
there's literally most of our conversations are complaining about something,
Yeah, it's true.
or miserable about something,
It's true.
or manufacturing something. Like if there's no chaos in our life, we create it. It's amazing.
True.
It's true.
True.
Come on, people, be joyful.
There you go.
That's what I say.
So that's what we're going to talk about today, and we're going to kind of dive into some of the things Johnny spoke this week or a couple weeks ago, which was fantastic. And so these guys were also our esteemed guests who were driving our Joy Bug all month long. So we're going to hear from them. The esteemed Giampaolo Galacieri, as well as Johnny Henderson, the esteemed Johnny Henderson as well. So
Johnny Henderson, the eighth.
yes,
The eighth.
the eighth.
The eighth.
Because there is a ninth.
There's the ninth. He's
So
on
now
the
you are distinguished.
distinguished.
The tattoo is for next episode.
Yeah.
You can show that one.
That is actually a pretty good video if no one's seen it.
That's great.
I got a tattoo. That
You
says
did.
the ninth. For those who don't know.
Who don't know?
That's great.
Yeah.
You could check it out. It's viral. Okay, so question number 1. Here's the one we're going to kind of lean into. Joy. I just want to set the stage. Joy, is it nature or nurture? Let's talk about it. Are you born with this, or are you born angry, or can you choose it? Can you learn it? Nature or nurture? What do you think?
I've always had a sense of joy as far back as I can remember. Just a kind of happy-go-lucky, sort of always smiling, looking through photos and stuff. Seemed to always be that. Now, I know that that's probably not true, knowing that I had 2 older sisters, being the youngest. I do see some photos where I'm like, hey, I don't look happy in that one. So there's probably seasons, but for the most part, I feel like it's a lot of nature. Just some people are more, way more happy and joyful than others, I would say.
You think some people are intrinsically born with this joy?
They
Yeah,
come
they
out
come out-
laughing out of the
They come
womb.
out
Yeah.
laughing with
Yeah,
this
not
belly
crying.
laugh.
Yeah,
Yes.
because I came out laughing. Did you come out crying?
Yeah, with
For
like,
sure, everybody is exactly like you. That's how it
with like a
works.
piece of prosciutto in your hand. Like,
The world would be so much better if everyone was just like me. That's the answer.
Salami.
Yeah.
No,
Obviously,
I
you
don't,
guys-
I don't think it's nature. I think people have a disposition. They might be more joyful. I think there is chemical balances in your brain, and some people are wired to be a little more. They're disposed to joy. But I actually think my personal opinion is that most of it is nurture. That you actually choose it. And if you're listening to our sermons, you would have answered it that way.
I did. I just didn't agree with that.
That's why you didn't speak this
Yeah,
month.
that's
That's why
right.
you were
Took me out.
taken off the team.
I think it's kind of like farming. You have to cultivate it, and you have to work at it, and you have to like figure out, you know, how do you get that crop? And so,
So some soil is better than others, but it all has to be cultivated.
there you go. There you go.
Yeah,
Pound it.
true.
Pound it.
I ain't pounding that. ain't pounding that, bro.
No, that makes sense. I mean,
Are you not happy? I thought you were always happy.
Yes, I am.
You were born happy.
I'm joyful. Just joyful because I see it.
Yeah, and I would add to that because I think there is an element of I mean, some people are naturally a little more optimistic than others.
Correct.
And that seems to be a character type thing that's just part of them. But I think the last 90% of that honestly is choice. Like you have to choose it because those same optimistic people go through the hard. Like I think it's easy to turn. Like
Well, it'd be awfully depressing if that wasn't true, though, because then you'd just say, well, I'm predisposed. My nature is to be depressed.
right.
And that's a hopeless state to be in.
yeah.
And that also would also negate people who feel like they're always happy from genuine feelings of grief and sorrow. So I think there's this balance, and some people have them maybe the scales tipped a little heavily one way over the other. But I think you're right. I think we choose joy.
Right.
I agree.
How do you guys choose it?
Well, in my family, we called it redocking your neurons. And here's what we mean by that. So neuroscience has proven that every time you have a thought, it creates a pathway. And the longer you have that thought, the wider that pathway becomes. So eventually it can become a super highway. So for you, GB, like you obviously had joy a lot in your life, so that became a natural tendency. When situations happen, you tended to joy. Where someone else could have a real tragic life, and that pathway is huge. And so I think for me, it's recognizing that the first step is self-awareness. Okay, why am I joyful or sad? And what are my thoughts directed to? And then actually focusing on rechanneling that. So we all have these triggers. So they're things that will set us off. And once we know what those are, we can actually reroute. So it's like you don't want to go on this highway anymore. You actually choose a new path. So for me, it's actually found in what I call meditation or reflection, stopping and really analyzing through self-awareness and discovery why I feel this way and how I'd like to respond in the future. And it's hard work because it's much easier just to go down the highway. But so we call it in our family redocking your neurons.
Makes sense. I think for the way I look at it is like, because I kind of dived into this idea that joy is connected to purpose. And so for me, this is never about this. It's always a deeper that's going on. And so if I'm externally expressing no joy and discontentment with life and just a frustration with life, there's a very good chance there's a narrative deeper back in my psyche or in my life that I haven't dealt with, that's causing some sort of deep internal dysfunction. So you have to deal with that. And that's usually connected around purpose. And so Justin, you kind of touched on this too, that how like when you make your life about others, when you focus on the bigger picture, you become more filled with joy. And so there's a movie called Happy, and I think it's a book as well, but they talk about how people's overall fulfillment and happiness in life is directly connected to how they focus on their intrinsic or extrinsic goals. And so the more that they're focused on their image and how they present themselves, social media, these very external factors, versus focus on their social impact and how they influence and impact their family and their friends. The people who are more outward focused are statistically more happy. And like the happiness in terms of like fulfillment and contentment and joy in life. And so, so I think that if joy's not readily there to express itself, there's probably something deeper down that you need to figure out, and it's probably somewhere wrapped around purpose and what you're investing your time into.
Yeah, if you don't like the fruit, you planted the wrong tree.
It's good. You always have like a
I
tagline.
was gonna bring it.
Wrap it up. You put it.
I was
in a
going to bring it back
tagline.
to the soil because I was also thinking about if you focus just on the surface stuff, you actually never dig deep enough to get things that take root, right? And so you're never going to get.
It's like my grass. It's like my grass right now.
Yeah, my grass is
But
pretty
that's
bad
funny
too.
because that's a cultural lie, though, right? So I'm stuck in a state of discontentment, no joy, and so I think that I got to modify all these things on the surface, right? On these external things.
And
I'm
that
like,
will somehow make me happy.
And it doesn't, because we never get deep enough to be like, fundamentally, the premise of my life is broken. Like, I think it's about me. And I think it's about, this certain aspect of success, or I think it's about, achieving these certain things, which aren't helpful for me, and they're causing me this dysfunction.
Well, and what makes it even harder is that there is a temporary rush, a chemical rush that does actually make you feel like, I'm happy. That's true. So you become addicted to that, but it's temporary, it's fleeting, and the downside of that, the higher the high, the lower the low, right? And so I think people actually become addicted to trying to get that chemical rush of joy rather than going deep into the true source of joy.
It's true, because people always find these solutions which do like biochemically enhance you for a moment.
Correct.
Even things like that are really positive and good. Like I started doing yoga, and it's but really you haven't tackled those deeper narratives or that deeper premise in which you set up your whole life on. Yoga is gonna carry you through a small season,
especially if you get to wear Lululemons. Just throw it out there for free. Yeah. Endorsed. This podcast is endorsed.
Wow.
Is that deep enough for you guys?
Lululemons only bring you so much joy.
Yeah, they will.
But you can move from this little temporary thing to try to modify that surface level feeling of happiness or whatever. You can get that reaction in your brain by getting enough likes or getting that
Right.
new
Right.
car, that new thing. But again, you have to start hopping from stone to stone to stone, and then you're still kind of trying to figure out where is this coming from.
And I
So,
define that as the difference between happiness and joy.
yeah,
Happiness is the feeling based on circumstance. Joy is something deep that is lasting regardless of your circumstance or how you're feeling.
yeah,
Yeah.
And I don't think culture understands that
No.
necessarily. They think that they're one and the same.
Well, because we've been told that if you don't have these things, you're not happy. Like
And-
that's the narrative that's told.
Well, and I think too, there's we've been sold joy,
Right.
and it didn't measure up. So I think for me, like
That's good.
I think choosing joy for me every day looks like it stems from what do you believe? Because I think for most people, they honestly are jaded because you believe like, listen, like I know I've been through life. I know that nothing that you've
Satisfies.
tried to sell me
Yeah.
doesn't make me happy. So I doubt if it's even possible. So if you don't believe that there's actually joy available for you, like you haven't audited where you get it from, like I think you could be stuck. Like so, I think it starts with like, do you believe there's an abounding source of joy available to you? And then if you can work backwards from there, well then how do I align my life to that? Because I think I think we've been sold something that's,
Something you said, Johnny, that triggered something for me, just that foundation, the roots. And I think part of it was the sense of joy was instilled in me when I was young, like really young.
Right.
And those roots, so it's very simple for me to choose joy in almost every situation. It's actually not, it's effortless for me because it is deeply rooted in me. And I find a lot of the people that I speak with who don't have that, they never had that joy. And so something that you were saying, how their past or their childhood or whatnot was more difficult. It's more of a challenge to choose that. And I just think even food wise, so my kids will be incredibly happy. Then we sit down for dinner and we're not having what they don't like,
right.
and it's the end of the world.
Right.
And that was never an option for us growing up. It
were
wasn't
always
an
thankful.
It was always because what they put in front of our plates is what we ate. And so you said, if you don't like the fruit that you plant a new tree. We didn't have that choice. Right. You liked the fruit whether you planted it or not. Yeah, exactly. And so, but it instilled this like depth of just appreciation. And even when I look at my life, and I know, Bill, you've talked about this too, like you look at compared to the world around you, man, we have it real good. And trying to even instill that in my children, realizing, hey, look at your life.
And I also think that it's elusive for people because they believe that joy is a feeling. And so even for me, it's interesting. I've had a really difficult month as we've been doing this. A lot of things in my own personal life that I'm not going to go into the details because it's not necessary. But even today was a really rough day. And I don't naturally feel la la la, but I've learned that joy is the confidence that everything is going to be okay. And for me, that's the root. And so even in some of the difficult conversations I've had where we're tempted to panic or create chaos or go, oh, it's so bad, I've been able to go, no, I really believe it's going to be okay. Well, how can you say that? You don't know. I just know it's going to, and I think that's joy. Joy is confidence. So I use the analogy of a roller coaster. The only reason a roller coaster is fun is because you're not going to fall out of it. Like if there was a 50% chance that you're going to fall out of it and die, it would not be fun.
Right.
Carnivals.
Yeah,
Carnivals
exactly.
are not fun for me.
Well, exactly. So
It's only like a 40%.
Yeah, that's right.
or when I went on the Toronto Skywalk, I did that thing on the CN Tower. Like, I am terrified of heights. The only thing that kept me sane was this, I believed that this harness they'd put me on was going to keep me safe.
It's crazy.
So if you don't have that confidence that it's going to be okay, then you do panic.
Yeah.
It's the same when you're lifeguarding, right? They tell you if someone's drowning, sometimes you have to actually kind of knock them out. Because even though you're there to save them, they'll drag you down. I know, isn't that?
Just imagine like a teenage lifeguard in the pool with a kid.
Working.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
But because they're in a panic mode, they'll drag you down even though you're there to save them. So I think it's true in life. If you think there's someone who is going to work all things together for good, if you really believe that, then you can have confidence and that gives you, whether you call it peace, I guess, but I think it's joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
You can enjoy the ride.
contentment and joy are intrinsically connected for sure.
The knockout.
I actually read this. And I actually read this quote, and I'll just read it because I wrote it down. It says that when you believe that Jesus' love has overcome death itself, then joy becomes reasonable even in the darkest of circumstances.
That's good.
And I think that's, again, rooted in that deep truth. Because like, if you can believe that, then it becomes a reasonable response to, like, wait a sec. Like, and Paul, like, who even says, all these things, he still expresses sorrow. Like, he still says, like, I miss my friends. I'm frustrated. I'm sad. Like, but in the middle of that, I love that, like, in 2 Corinthians 6, he acknowledges the pain, but it was also, like, this idea of, like, it called for this acknowledging that there was something being used for good, like there was something more to the story.
Yeah.
And I think some people look at Christians and think it's naive optimism.
Yeah,
but I don't think it's that. But it's actually rooted in evidence. So if I just look back at my life, okay, I, like every other human being, have had some things happen to me that shouldn't have happened to me, incredibly painful. I could have allowed them to define me. But I look back at those things and I saw how, even as painful and awful and terrible, and I hope they never happened to anyone else, they were, how it was able to be used for good. I actually believe that. So my confidence isn't just, well, I just believe it, so I'm gonna, just think happy thoughts. It's rooted in the fact that there was a time when my wife came to me and said, I don't know where we're gonna get money to feed our baby. Like, I don't know as a dad how it gets much lower than that. Your one role in life is to provide for your family, and you can't do that. And yet, God took care of it, like in a supernatural way. Someone just sent us some money, and then when again, I don't want to go through every situation in my life, but just this isn't just like I think I can. It's actually rooted in evidence, and thousands of years of evidence. That's the strength of the Bible.
Yeah.
It's funny because in my life, the lessons that have most deeply shaped my character were in times of deepest struggle.
True.
Like, I want to give up, I'm ready to throw in the towel, and then a revelation comes about me, about my heart, my character.
So good.
When applied, it just produces so much good fruit.
Yeah.
And so it's in those dark moments I have to trust that, like, okay, there's something in me that's going to grow.
Yep.
Like, there's a saying, like, everything's your teacher if you let it. Right? Like, everything is sitting there at the front of the classroom of your life wanting to teach you a lesson, but you have to invite that in. And I think that's actually inviting the Holy Spirit. That's inviting God into your life. He's the process of bringing meaning into all things. So when you invite that process and you let things be your teacher, you'll find, like, the deepest nuggets of wisdom and joy through the darkest things.
Did you guys see that Jeremy Lin interview thing
in
just
Taiwan?
recently?
No,
Well, so he's Jeremy Lin.
Yeah, I know.
So he's
from the Toronto Raptors, if you don't know.
He's
Was.
weeping.
Basketball player.
He's crying because he's saying he's at the lowest point. And what's interesting, he mentions God, right? He says, I've given more of my life to God in this past year, but I'm at the lowest point ever. I feel like the NBA has given up on me. I can't believe this. And all the comments are like, poor $1 million man. Poor, just won the championship. I can't believe. And here's this man who's obviously pretty wealthy, but yet feels like everything's been torn away from him. And it's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
Well, I think here's the deal too, because the perspective is powerful. So, another analogy is that circumstances are kind of like an anvil, and you can let God put the situation you're in and use the anvil to beat something better in, firebrand something better, sharpen, shapen, from raw material into something refined and useful. Or you can tie a rope around it and around your neck and be thrown into the ocean. Your circumstances, if leveraged properly and given to God, can be for incredible good. But you're right. Any circumstance, whether you're a millionaire, a superstar.
It doesn't matter.
Well, it's like even we looked at top 10 hits last year, and what was it, 7 or 8 of them were about high-profile people who had everything on the surface who took their life.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
It's funny because that lie still pervades in our culture, though. Right?
right.
If like fame and popularity and clout and influence, that's what's gonna like do it. That's the secret sauce, right? We all secretly want that. But then the people who have it, fundamentally, you see it, it's clear as day. Like Jim Carrey is quoted, one of his famous quotes is, I wish everything could have everything I've achieved and everything I've ever had, so I could realize it's not the answer.
Right.
That it doesn't
We have to think
satisfy.
it's actually more.
Yeah, it's deeper. And so like Yeah, but it's funny, we could still get caught up into that lie. I remember like last time I renewed my phone, I kind of like was on the cusp of getting a new phone, didn't need a new phone, I got a new phone. And I remember like a week later just being utterly disappointed in myself. That I had like, you
gave
know,
in.
I
You
gave
craved.
in because the phone wasn't
Crumbled.
the phone wasn't that much better, and I'd spent a couple $100 to get the new contract to like, and I'm like,
Why did I do
and I
that?
was just why I could have just waited and got a
you got
free
sucked
phone.
in.
I got sucked in. I like
got sucked in.
I became a pawn. But I mean that's just like a small little example, but that narrative can creep into our life over and over again, right? Where it's like, oh, if you have this stuff, if you have influence, if you look like this, if you have this money, then you'll be happy and satisfied. And it's just
Or if the Toronto Raptors win the NBA championship,
Again.
you'll be happy until Kawhi
Wow.
Leonard leaves.
exactly.
Then you'll be upset.
That's
Okay.
a disaster.
This
Kevin,
is all
pause.
leading up to this metaphor about Kawhi Leonard leaving.
That's it. That's the whole point of this conversation, really.
Okay, I'm gonna pause you guys for a sec. We want to just take a moment. If you're tuning in on Facebook Live, we'd love for you to write in your question. We might have a moment at the end. We'll answer maybe one or two of those. So Caleb is gonna keep track on some of those and let us know. And as we kind of pause for just a moment, you guys were also driving around in a bug all month long. So I want to hear from you guys some of your observations. As if you don't know what happened during the month, we drove around. I was in the back seat sweating of a Volkswagen
Trying
Bug,
to hide.
trying to hide, and my hair was very
out
evident.
there.
Not any
You
bug.
can see your
Yeah.
Conan coif.
Yes, my
Not any
my
bug.
coif.
1970, 7600 I don't know what I'm saying. I want to sound cool.
Describe the bug.
CCR 76.
Dual
Sorry,
carbs.
Sean. Sorry, man. I didn't-
He's never talked about a car before.
Seriously.
Like
Some guy-
1976
Yeah.
CBR, big
Hey,
big
Four
bore.
wheels, steering wheel.
Well, right when we-
The
Yeah.
best was the people asking you,
right
hey,
when
what
we
kind
started,
of car you got?
I'm like, oh, it's a 1963. You sure it's the 63? I'm like, no, I don't know, man. That's not my car.
Okay, so I want you guys to talk about what was your experience trying to spread joy, like giving away things, talking to people. There was some interesting things that kind of
Yeah.
came up. So talk about those things.
I mean,
What-
first off, we were literally driving like this, like two guys in a car. So
Smallest car ever. I had to
Johnny-
like pull my leg into
Yeah.
the vehicle.
Yeah, seatbelts were a little. Johnny said, I got it. I got
Big
it.
man in little car.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, for me, it was just awesome. I love just seeing that reaction from people that kind of like, what are you doing? Like that kind of look. And then when you're actually helping them, no strings attached. Like for me, the giving away the Beechwood donuts at the
Yeah.
end there.
Yeah.
I thought going into it, I'm like, who is going to take donuts from two strangers? Well, in
the
downtown St. Catharines,
Turns
that's
out,
it.
everybody,
They were-
everybody. That took
Yeah.
2 minutes. That seemed
like
like 2 minutes.
Cars is lined
Oh.
up.
Yeah.
They were like,
Yeah,
oh,
there was the guy honking at you. No,
Yeah.
no,
other side of the street.
Yeah.
Literally, like in the car, hands in, grabbing it out. But people just love the idea of getting free stuff. And then even just people looking at us doing that just brought this almost like this instant joy to people's faces.
It's funny. The immediate reaction from a lot of people though was a level of like skepticism,
Skepticism,
right?
yeah.
Like,
Of course.
wait, really?
Yeah.
Like, what is this? Like, where's the ad?
Especially the shopping carts.
Yeah.
That they were like,
yeah, they were
whoa.
Are you
like,
stealing my purse?
Yeah, what do you
Yeah.
want? What do you want?
Stealing my bread.
what's attached to this?
Right.
And
Well,
so-
Johnny was like, can I take your cart? Give me your cart. Like, Johnny, not so rough.
demanding. Even that lady with her shoe that I tied, I was like, let me tie your shoe. Doing a video trying to be kind.
Yes.
No, honestly, it was a lot.
So here's my question then. So what about that? Do you think for that moment made them feel joy? Was it the fact that they're getting something for free? Is it the fact that someone's thinking of me? Like it was unexpected.
Yeah.
It was like an act of kindness that came out of nowhere. Like what?
Yeah.
What of that could be replicated in everybody's life?
I think that it didn't matter what it was because it was
Yeah.
a balloon or it was like
Yeah.
flowers or whatever.
Or-
Like there wasn't
or
like
a shopping cart.
There wasn't a massive high. There's a little bit more joy with the donuts.
Yeah, a little bit.
Sugar.
Everyone loves
Well,
the
the
sugar.
dopamine,
Dopamine is
the
higher.
chemical joy.
Yeah.
But I think it actually touches on like a fundamental human need is when people feel like seen. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They're like, you noticed me.
Yeah.
Like in the like, it's not you're not just one in a crowd. You know what I mean? If it was different, if I was standing in front of a crowd,
Just throwing
and I was
donuts.
throwing
Yeah,
out the same
doesn't mean
things,
anything.
it doesn't mean anything.
No.
There's not the
Yeah.
connection, right?
And
But
we've
like,
seen that. We've seen where we were giving out stuff and people are like, I don't want that or whatever. But this, was there one person who rejected?
yeah, the
Maybe
guy,
the
the guy
cards.
that you paid for the parking, he was like, no,
Yeah.
no, no, I got it.
He was
I got
adamant.
it. I've earned this. I've earned. I must pay
Well,
for myself.
I think for him, he's like, I don't want to owe you anybody. I don't want to owe you. I'm
Yeah,
good.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Isn't that there are strings
Right? I'm going to owe
attached?
you if I do.
Yeah.
If I take this.
Yeah, I think that's a comment on the fact that our culture is very transactional, right? It's like,
Yes.
it's like there's has to be
Yeah.
a level of
Yeah.
reciprocation.
Yeah, like
You
I'll
can't-
give you a present at Christmas, but you have to give me an equal
Yes.
or better present,
Which I hate.
or I'm not happy.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate
So
that.
so when your
pressure.
joy is transactional,
Yeah.
you're going to constantly be frustrated.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually a really powerful point.
Yes.
That joy isn't a transaction. It's not like a slot machine. You put something in, you
Yeah.
get joy out.
Yeah.
Joy is something that comes from a deeper place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, tapped into some deep human psyche.
Yeah.
That I'm seen, I'm valued, I'm appreciated.
You could
I
probably,
belong.
You could probably even say it's the ugliest part of religion when it is. I'm being kind to you because I want a transaction to take
Yeah.
place.
Absolutely. Or I want you to
And
say a prayer.
I want you to say
I
this
want
prayer
you to
and then
join my group.
right.
I
And
want you
instead
to-
of I actually want you to win. I want the best for you.
That's it.
I think that's the. It's like no. I don't want like I want something for you.
That's
I want you
right.
to have this.
I love that.
So good.
You know?
I think you tapped to something huge there because again, like, I don't think joy can be a goal in and of itself.
Exactly.
When you do that, you ruin it because
Yeah.
I'm doing it for me, right? If I make joy, I need to become joyful,
Mm.
and I start doing that. I'll start doing things for people and whatever. It has to be out of an overflow of like I was saying before, that deeper narrative. You correct that. Like, no, I want to make an impact. I want to like have purpose. I want to change someone's life. I want to make a meaning. I want to create one meaningful moment with someone today. You
Yeah.
you set out to be like, I'm gonna have one authentic connection with somebody today. I'm really gonna care about somebody.
Right.
At the end of the day, you walk in the front door and you're like, what's for dinner? Let's go.
But see, I can even hear people though, or see people hearing this and thinking, okay, well, I'm going to do something good for somebody, and I better feel joy. And that's not how it works. Joy is like a wild, exotic bird. It was meant to be seen and chased, but not ever captured and held. I don't know if that makes sense. It's like,
I like it. I like it. Though.
did you like it?
Keep going.
Okay.
Keep going.
It was
Remember-
your, it's inspired it.
Okay, anyway, so, yeah, so I think you're right. It can never be, I love what you said there. It can never be the goal. It's always a reaction, or it's something that comes from something else.
It comes from a well.
That's right. So when you're rooted in purpose, when you're rooted in who you are, when you're rooted with confidence,
Yeah.
when you're rooted in your identity, then joy just happens.
Yeah. And because you grew up in it, in such a loving environment, it naturally, you can't imagine why wouldn't it come out of
Yeah.
anybody.
That's so true.
But for those that didn't, they're going like, no, you have to find that well.
Yeah, exactly.
And you actually have to work for it sometimes.
Yeah.
Well,
I-
You got to dig.
Well, it's like even when
gotta
I mean
dig.
you've been on trips too, where you go to the slums in some of these developing countries, and they literally have nothing, and then they wrap plastic bags into a soccer ball, and they're having a great time
yeah,
because they weren't pursuing joy,
'Cause
they
they get-
were enjoying what was in front of them. Maybe
And
maybe
they-
that's part of
and
the
they
secret.
have gratitude down to like a fine art, right? Because everything is a gift.
Yes,
Everything's
that's
like
good.
Like I'm not going to eat today, and so I pray, and then something food shows up, and this is like literally a gift
gift.
from the divine.
Right.
Could you imagine if we saw every meal as literally a gift from the divine?
Or every
It's
breath.
I remember when I was in
Yeah.
when I was
No,
in
but,
when I was in Kenya, there was a girl. I remember she was telling me the story, weeping. She found like literally equivalent of 10 cents on the floor of the matatu, like the taxi she was in, and it was exactly what she needed to finish her fare. She was 10 cents short. She would tell me weeping because that was like a gift from the divine because she was so grateful for that 10 cents. And it's just like such a different perspective, and
Yeah.
I don't think we get that.
What level of currency do you stop for? 10 cents? 25? Will you stop for 25 cents? Or
I
no?
want to pick
Oh,
it up off the ground.
I stop for everything. You don't
Yeah,
stop.
10 cents.
I stop for 10
I'm probably up to a loony right now.
Oh my gosh, you need to make less money. How much is Central paying you?
It's only 25 cents, really.
Yeah.
So okay, so wait, but I'm fascinated with your thought because it's actually really powerful. Okay, so again, I'm just processing out loud, but so joy isn't something you gain; it's something you express. It has to come from the inside out. It can't come from the outside in, and the way that you express it is in gratitude. So I think when you're giving a donut, they're genuinely grateful.
It's true.
Yeah.
So out of them comes this.
'Cause there's
It's
no
actually,
expectation.
What if it's actually built in deep inside of all of us, and some of us just have the well shut.
Yeah.
So you're saying the more grateful you are, the more joy you experience,
Well, I'm wondering.
right? There's
I'm
a tie
wondering.
there.
I'm wondering
circle.
if instead of pursuing joy, you actually just are thankful for what you're experiencing, the present. Because
Strong
if you think
argument for
about it,
that.
a lot of our joy, our lack of joy, is tied to something that happened yesterday that we regret, or something I hope is going to happen in the future that hasn't happened yet. But if you can live in the present, that's why it's called a present. I know that was really cheesy.
I'll take it back.
And, can I take it back?
You got the tree,
it
the
back.
bird, and now
Rewind
the
that
present.
tape.
Yeah, back to the exotic bird.
But if you could truly be grateful for wherever you're at right now, regardless of what got you here, and regardless of where it takes you,
Yes,
I wonder if that's
a good path.
a part of.
Yeah. The one
Joy.
girl, the first girl we gave flowers to in the parking lot, we hadn't even started yet. I think we got it on film, but you could just see she was either having a rough day, or she was just wearing the weight of that day on her face. You could just see. And as soon as I gave her that, it like almost broke something. You didn't see it in the video, but she was weeping when I gave it to her. And just that simple act of those flowers broke something in her where she clearly wasn't having
Right.
the best day. And yeah, I
amazing.
think I think it actually can break something.
Yep,
Like what
so
you
it's
talked
that
about.
powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, question for each of you real quick. We're gonna keep moving. We got a few more minutes, and we want to get to this question. But for me, I want to just ask you this question: what was your big aha from this month? Like, if you had one takeaway that, as you were either speaking, researching, sort of
Driving a
listening, driving in
A
traffic,
68
driving a bus.
Volkswagen
70.
4,000 horsepower.
Bill, what do you don't even know what you're talking about.
Yes.
1970, 2600 cc. I think that's it.
The cars go in CCs.
Yes, the bugs do.
Go-karts go in CCs.
Sean, if you're watching, Sean Ledwis, can you please
Go ahead
just
and
give us
just
the answer?
check in here on what this car actually
I'm
is.
kind of with Johnny on this one. I think go-karts are
Yeah, the two big car guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
So big aha moment.
Well, for
It's a
me,
deep mess.
for me, it would be simple that joy is a choice,
Yes.
and it's available to everyone.
Right.
So you don't have to be on the outside looking in. You can actually choose it. You can have it
Yeah.
by taking the steps we talked about.
Right.
Right.
For me, it was, and we mentioned it in the when we were in the car. Joy produces joy, which produces joy. It's this cycle. The more you experience it, the more you give it away. It's almost like this pay it forward type thing. We saw that with so many people who were like, oh, now I got to do something for somebody else. And it wasn't that, not that they had to, but they just felt this idea of,
Yeah.
hey, this is great. I want to be able to do something for somebody now.
Yeah.
I think for me, the one that, like, I was just reflecting on this question a little bit because I was thinking of, like, I think the thing for me is I actually work hard for joy. Like, it's not it isn't, like, I know there's a lot of joyful things if you look at my social or feeds or whatever. Like, I know those things are there and I love that, but, like, I actually work really hard for it. Like, I discipline a lot of things in order to allow it to flow through me. Like, and it's simple things. Sometimes it's like I go to bed, I try to be, early. I try to eat a certain way. I try to gym. I try to, like, surround myself with people that are positive because I know my disposition is to the negative. Like, I know my drift. And I know some of the things that I grew up around that, like, I needed to get away from. So so for me, it was like, no, I'm going to keep working hard for joy because I just refuse to be grumpy and an old grumpy man. Because I know I will go there. I know I'm going to go there. If I don't choose it, like you said, and I don't work at it, I'm going to go there. So anyways, that was my, just like,
So joy is a discipline.
it's a discipline.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me that we kind of touched on it a bit, but just the idea that joy is about the deeper things. It's not just some surface level thing that you can just jump into or grab a hold of. Right. And I really think that when you realize, I talked about this in my message, but when you realize that the narrative that you're a part of, that God is fixing everything. He's bringing all things to himself. He's reconciling. He's healing the world. And the reason why you need to pursue your purpose and find your joy, it's not for yourself. It's for the world that needs you, right?
Oh, that's
and
good.
so, because and again, that's not That's not making this objective goal. It's about like, no, this internal journey. The reason why I need to do this because I need to get caught up in this bigger thing, and I'm missing out on so much. I'm missing out on so much joy and purpose and potential because I'm being stuck in this. I'm staying stuck in like the internal, this small little dialogue here. And so when you can be inspired by like, who can you impact? Like, who's the person at your work? Who's the person in your family? Or like, you know, what's the bigger picture that you can be a part of? And let
no strings attached.
No strings attached. No strings attached. And then let that drive all the other internal stuff. Being like, you know what, maybe I will set up a counselor appointment because that person needs me. You know what I mean? Because self-preservation is not a big enough goal in that journey, that movement towards joy and purpose.
Well, the thing I'm learning too in life in general is that we're all writing a narrative. And most of us think that we have to keep reading the narrative that was handed to us. But I love the newness of God. God comes in and puts something new in us, writes a new name, writes a new story. And you can actually change your narrative. And you that's the discipline part. It's the choice part. It's the dealing with the deep inside. What's the narrative that you'd like your life to if someone's to read your life, what would you like it to say? And make that happen. And that will bring joy.
Yeah. I always say, like, we have this cultural equation, like, you know, where you grew up or who your family is, and then how much money your family have equals your outcome in life.
Right.
And people live like as a box. Like, well, my parents are alcoholics, and so it's just kind of the way things, you know, or like this is my social reality, and so this is going to become my life.
Yes.
And then just like forget that equation. It's garbage, right?
Is.
Like,
It's not true.
like, and it's not true, and it's not the redemptive narrative of God. Like, God's like, no, let's rework this whole story. Let's make a new narrative. Let's change your story for generations. And so, but we need to be able to get out of that broken narrative that you were talking about.
It's awesome.
Okay, we're gonna go to Facebook if we have any questions, and if not, I got one last thing for us. But anything come in, Caleb, for us today? You wrote me. Okay.
Okay, so we're going to check
we
it
got-
right now. Going to the speed dial.
All right. Okay, question number
round.
1. Can you be in a state of joy while staying in your comfort zone? Why don't we get one of you to tackle that one?
I'm gonna say no.
I'm going to say
start
no,
with
too. I'm going to say no, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A ship in the harbor is safe, but that's not what she's
No,
built
because
for.
of everything we just said, or no because
Boom!
That's an actual quote. I don't know what it's from. Mark
But,
Twain
man,
or something.
That was really...
Ship in the harbor is safe, but that's not what she's built for.
Simon Cowell said that. I think.
Simon Cowell,
Is it-
the great philosopher, theologian.
Yeah, no,
Simon Cowell.
I think because, again, you weren't designed for comfort. You were designed for adventure
Right.
and for generosity and for compassion. And so to go when you go against your purpose,
Right.
it's going to lead to frustration.
Yeah. Okay, another question. To what extent should you be joyful, and can you be too joyful?
No, I don't.
Can you be annoyingly joyful?
Well,
Yes, you can be annoyingly joyful to.
like
the
part of me
grumpy
wants
old-
to say yes.
The worst part of me wants to say yes, you can,
Yes,
and
that's
then I'm
it.
like, no.
No, that's that old grumpy old man. that
That's
you're
the
talking
grumpy
about.
man.
That's-
I
yeah,
refuse that man.
that's right.
Yeah, kill that man.
Kill him.
Kill it.
that was actually
Whoa.
physical violence.
That's all right.
I don't think you can be too
Workers'
joyful.
comp. Not okay.
I mean, I'm talking true joy.
You're talking not fake, like
No,
put
yeah,
on like
exactly.
lipstick
I'm talking
joy.
true. You know, they can see, they can work negative things out in their mind. They have the right perspective. They have the right attitude. That kind of joy. Their foundation is on purpose, like that.
I think it's
They're
annoying
choosing-
when it's spinning.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
oh, it's all going to be good.
Yeah.
And, or when they try to spin it
Yeah.
on you, and you're like, they don't actually. Here's what, because we talked about how
They're
they don't
disconnected
see
from reality.
you. Well, they don't see you.
Right.
They're actually being insensitive. They think they're trying to cheer you up, but they're actually being insensitive because they're not sitting with you in that moment,
Right.
and they're trying to spin it, or they have nothing working upstairs. So
Brene Brown says it's silver lining it.
yes,
It's like
silver
you
lining.
take
it.
other people's problems
Sure.
and you try to add a silver lining to it, and you're like, wait, you didn't acknowledge me.
Yeah.
Right.
You didn't sit with me in this moment and this pain. So
Yeah,
that's,
true.
that kind of joy is like fun.
and there's a deeper joy in someone just sitting sometimes with you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
than some fickle.
Yeah, it's a
fake
funeral
answer.
line, right? It's when you're in that line and you just shake hands and you don't say anything, or you just
Yeah. Or you
I'm sorry, but those who
Yeah.
try and make something, they start talking. It's like, no, just stop talking.
Well,
'Cause it almost-
that's the depth of mourning and joy. Like you can still actually go through deep mourning. You talked about some of the darkest night and come out like joy is in the morning. Like I think you can actually express both, and there's still joy on the other side.
But again, if joy is confidence that it's going to be okay, it
Yeah.
doesn't. You don't negate your feelings of loss and mourning. It's
So
not
just
happiness.
say, oh, it's all good.
Yeah, it's not. But you know, okay, you know what? I know that we're going to make it through this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
have someone come along and say, we're going to do it together.
Yeah.
That's pretty powerful.
That is powerful.
Okay, another question. Real quick, how can I, this would be a quick, not a very quick one, but how can I use my story of overcoming depression and the joy I have now and share it with others? I want to bring that same joy with other people.
That's right.
So someone who overcame depression and just looking to share it with others, I think you just do it.
Yeah.
I don't, is that too simple?
No, yeah, I think
How
that,
do you,
I think that, like, oftentimes we want to, because like when God does something in us, we love to get up. We want to get on a platform. We want to preach it out to the
Yeah.
world. But the reality is it doesn't work like that a lot of times. A lot of
Yeah.
times it's just like taking an extra couple minutes with somebody who needs you,
God,
right?
yeah.
It's actually quite simple. It's not like you need to get on a massive
No.
platform.
Yeah,
you need to start
exactly.
making vlogs. You need to start this whole
Yeah.
campaign.
Or
But
sometimes,
it's like-
sometimes the motivation is, I just want you to experience what I've experienced, and the motivation is pure, but they can't experience what you've experienced because
Yeah.
you're you and they're them. But I think sometimes what we do is we try to force it, and I think they have to find it, because joy is something I can't
Yeah.
manufacture onto you, force
Right.
onto you, but I can walk with you and maybe model it so you can experience it too.
Sure.
So I would just say, just live
Yeah.
your life, live free of depression. That's amazing.
Yeah.
and you'll probably see people, like I always think of me going through the loss of my mom has given me a voice to people who go through loss. I could
Yes.
sit with them and I could speak at a level that a lot of people can't.
Correct.
Because I know how you feel and I can sit in this with you. So that platform is just basically I see you in your loss and I see into your soul. Like and I'm not uncomfortable in it.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes even like if you've been through depression, you're going to notice someone who is like they're off.
Yes.
You're going to see them right away. You're going to walk into a room. That's going to be the first person you see. Your gift is to be in that person's life, be present.
Right.
And you don't even have to say a word.
And the key is
That's
to not,
powerful.
you don't have, just because like what worked for you, what you went through, you don't have all the answers, right?
Yes.
Just like, because we can get into that space, right?
Absolutely.
Where it's like, I'm gonna use this, oh, I can fix them. Where it's like, no, you don't have all the answers, but like you can be with them present in that moment.
Yeah.
You can share through your own personal experience.
That's good.
Okay, this is kind of a fun question. This is probably the last one we have time for. How can we spread joy if we're on a budget? Joyride. You
Not
getting a
giving
bug?
Beachwoods. That's for sure.
Here's a simple way. I love this. Hey, how are you doing? To somebody who like, really needs that question. And not in like a passing
And don't let
way.
them off the hook when they say fine.
Yeah.
Say, no, really, I'm really interested. How are you?
Because even if they decide at the end of that they don't want to open up, you're not the person. They felt noticed,
Right.
and so that's something
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah, it's true.
A handshake, a hug.
That's good.
Example, like I coach high level athletes, and when it's appropriate, I just feel like, hey, I'm cheering you on, I'm with you, or they're going through a hard time, and so I think they're just being present.
Yeah,
good.
I think I had
Being present is the present.
I had a chance.
No.
Oh man,
We said no already to that one.
Did we already say? Did we already X that one?
we already said no to that.
But I get 3 strikes. That's only 2. Okay, one more. I'm not out yet.
just coaching this year, are the kids at my kids' school, and didn't do anything other than just really just coaching them as people. And I think another part of just asking that question is just observing and listening to what their response is. Sometimes, you ask that question and their response, they're like, I'm okay. And you're like, oh, great, have a great day. And you move on.
Right.
And it's like, just take a moment and listen to what they're actually saying.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just sitting in the cafe, in the lobby, at work, at the coffee shop for free, in the ask for a water.
Actually-
and yeah.
Well, and actually, you guys have triggered something for me. The greatest source of joy that someone's given to me is often when they just see something in me that I don't see in myself.
Yeah.
That's good.
And they come and they say, I see something in you. And that is maybe the greatest gift. When you can actually speak to those deep inner realities
Yeah.
and draw it out. Maybe it's buried and they don't know how to express it, but you can come along and say, man, when you were over there and you were listening to that person, that was really powerful.
Yeah.
You got a gift.
So the practical application would be just to ask yourself, like God, show me their potential. and speak it out
Speak it.
and just like
Yeah.
the people in your life.
Something that I've done actually is on people's birthdays, rather than just saying happy birthday, just say, hey man, happy birthday, and just say a one-liner saying, hey, you know, you're awesome, you're great, just really thinking about
Yeah, do
you.
that for my birthday.
I just, people
You
I
just
really like.
He did preface with.
Oh, he did
You
promise.
got one, you got one, didn't you?
I got
Hey,
one.
you got
I got one. Did you get one?
I did.
When's your birthdays? I forget.
You know what's next level? You call the people on their birthday.
You call
That's the
them?
next
What's
level.
next level is
Nobody
you
calls.
fly
Yeah.
and surprise them at their front door.
Wow, that's good. All right, on that note, we're probably going to close here. But hey, I just want to say thank you so much for watching today and or listening if you're in your car. And I just want you to know, we really do. We want you to know that joy is available to you. And wherever you are, if you feel like the dark night, you feel sadness, you feel like you're surrounded by a cloud of darkness, just know that today, like, hope and joy is actually available for you. And we encourage you to pursue it and to get around people who are going to be on a journey with you. And so if you're part of Central, I want to encourage you to do that with people that you're connected to in a group. And if you're not, we'd love you to be a part of things. And so we have a great series that's starting this coming week called Vacay Mode. We're going to be talking about actually finding rest in the middle of chaos over the month of August. So you can come check that out. And if you have a question for our next Table Talk in August, you can also text the word Table Talk to 905-937-5610. So thanks so much for watching, and thank you guys for doing this with us.
fun.
This was
It
awesome.
awesome.
That was joyful.
I actually,
I
I feel
feel
happier.
joy.
I feel
Yes.
happier. So
I'm happy.
I love it. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
See you next time.